6TR, the bright side of Staffordshire.
6TR, the bright side of Staffordshire. For Friday with me, the Bossons, it's time for a special guest going over to the telephones because the one and only Chris Norman, former frontman of Smokie, has joined us. Hello, Chris.
Hi, how you doing?
Absolutely cracking, mate. You're a Bradford lad originally, but you've lived all over England, especially as a kid growing up. You moved around quite a lot.
Yeah, I did. My mum had a ants in her pants. She used to move around all over the place, and so I lived all over the place, until I was about 11 or 12, and then we settled in Bradford. So I went to school in Bradford and everything, yeah.
And you're from a very musical family yourself. You played guitar from a very early age.
Yeah, my mum was a singer and a dancer. My dad was a dancer and a comedy knockabout act. So I was brought up in show business with, completely surrounded by it, really. But I was never interested in going into it myself until the rock and roll thing came about and the Beatles and everything. And that's when I started to get interested to do it myself.
Heavily influenced by rock and roll. So you started a few bands before Smokie, I guess.
Well, actually, it was always the same band. It's just different names. We started at school, me and Alan Silson, who was the guitar player in Smokie. We started a group at school, and then that's about 1965. And then Terry Utley joined us, who was the bass player. And then we had another drummer, and then later on, we went professional, and we were called Kindness at the beginning. And I had a couple of records out, which didn't do anything. And then we worked around for years, about 7 years before we actually... We worked all over the country playing every kind of venue you can think of, rock clubs, everything, really. And then when we signed to Rack Records in 74, which is Mickey Most's label, and then we started to have hits the next year, and we had quite a few hits after that.
Not just in the UK, Europe was a massive market for Smokie.
Yeah, well, all over the world, really, and we travelled and we toured and we went all over Europe and to Australia, Israel, South Africa, America, everywhere. We were just travelling all over the time. So it was a great period for us.
And you never stopped writing. Although Smokie themselves had a bit of a relaunch in the 90s thanks to a cover version of Alice, quite a dirty version, in fact. What did you think of that version when you first heard it?
Well, I'd left the band by then. I left in 1986, and that came out in the middle 90s somewhere, like you say. So I didn't like it because I thought, they should have. There was a version of it out originally by a Dutch artist called Gompie, and they did that version originally, and then the new Smokie recorded it with Roy Chubby Brown, and then that became, a hit as well. But I thought they should have left it because the original version of Living Next Door to Alice was a big hit and sold a lot of records worldwide. And I think that was it for Smokie. They should have left it there. So I wasn't keen on it when I first heard it. But it's one of those things.
So where have you settled now, Chris? Where are you living at the moment?
I live on the Isle of Man most of the time, but I travelled around a lot. I've got a 5-piece band plus me. That's 6 and a big production crew, and we tour and we travel. I've just come back from Holland, and before that I was in South Korea, and just did a big show in Budapest with a symphony orchestra, and Russia. I've just been to Russia, so I'm traveling around a lot of the time, gigging here, there, and everywhere. So I'm still working, still gigging, still performing, still making albums, still writing songs. And I will keep doing it until I fall over, I think.
Don't fall over, Chris. It looks like you've done an album every other year for the last few. The last album you had out was Crossover a couple of years ago. So is there a new one due?
There's an album. Yeah, I usually make an album about once every 2 years. Yeah, the last one was about 2015. Crossover 2015. I got one coming out in September this year, which is called Don't Knock the Rock, and I've got a single out called Sun Is Rising. So, I just keep putting them out and keep working with them, and I need that because if I didn't do that, I would just be performing old songs all the time, and that I wouldn't like to do. I do the old songs within a mixture of other songs too. So when I do a live set, I usually do about 2 hours. We do a lot of Smokie songs, a lot of Chris Norman solo songs, because I started having hits on my own in '86 in Europe. And so we do we do a mixture, and then we'll do some stuff on the new album, and it's a mixture, you know. But we still do the old stuff as well. But if I had to do just the old stuff, I think I would get a bit bored with it. So I need new material to be doing.
You've got a hell of a lot of songs to choose from. The Sun is Rising, which you mentioned a minute ago, as a new single is out right now. And the sun is actually shining at the moment. Very appropriate time of year to release it.
Yeah. So it's a song about, it's a positive song, you know. It's about it's just about love is everywhere, love is all you need, and all that kind of stuff. And then the chorus is sun is rising high. I think in these times it's nice to have a positive sort of song to sort of make people think, you know, the world's not all bad, you know. So think positive and it'll be fine.
Are there any plans for any UK tour dates, Chris?
We're working on it because I'm kind of, you know, I'm playing catch up a little bit in the UK because I haven't done a lot here really for the last few years. Most of my work's been outside of the UK in different parts of the world, and so now, you know, I'm sort of playing catch up. So we need to get my profile up by having these records out, getting plays on radio, doing some TV shows and stuff. And then when that happens, then I'll be doing a tour. We're talking about trying to get something fixed for the end of this year or the early next year to do some UK dates, and I hope they come off because I have a lot of fan base in the UK who write, you know, to Facebook and what have you, and say, when are you coming to the UK? What, you've forgotten us, this is your home country. And it's not because I've forgotten the UK, it's just that I need to get into a position where I can do proper tours, you know.
You have written songs for other people, including Kevin Keegan, his hit single, and also the England World Cup squad in '82. You wrote This Time We'll Get It Right. Are you a big football fan?
Yeah, I love football, and I just got asked to write a song and produce that song for the England team. It was called This Time We'll Get It Right, and that was the song that they had in the '82 World Cup. It's a long time ago now. But anyway, yeah, and I work with other people too. You know, Cynthia Lennon, I produced her, and I've worked with Agneta and Donovan and all kinds of people, heavy metal kids. So, yeah, it was during a period when I wasn't touring much and I was concentrating more on writing and producing.
Amazing stuff. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, Chris. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Good luck with the single, the potential tour, fingers crossed for that, and everything else. You've been a great guest. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.